What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the defense numero tres. Oh my god, I can count up to three in Spanish. Or in French, trois. Dang. I'm so multicultural, it's not even funny. And we have a match between Dignitas, the American Superstar Squad, and Pain. Well, not really Superstar Squad, formerly the team known as Pot Bomb. They have definitely been looking very, very strong. They had a couple hiccups here and there. They didn't perform as well as they thought they would at DreamHack due to a lack of practice because ESWC got them sick. But ever since then, they've been on a roll. They've been Navi. They've been a couple people in the Dota 2 Raid Call League. And they have been looking very, very strong in the Defense 3 thus far, and they are definitely a fan favorite. Check out AUI 2000's stream. His stream is definitely one of the best streams if you want to learn a lot about Dota. But anyway, they're facing up against Pain, the Brazilian team who has been around ever since Dota 1. And definitely cannot be underestimated because they give good teams a run for their money in every game that I've seen them so far. They may not win every game, but they definitely put up a really, really strong fight, so Dignitas can definitely not underestimate Pain today. And Dignitas looks like Universe is going to be standing in Snaking. I think that is actually the real Snaking. But recently he was dropped from Dignitas because he's still in high school and they didn't find appropriate practice times, but I guess he's standing in today for Tides of Time. So, we'll get underway to the picks and bans. Dignitas is going to ban out the Darks here with their first pick. Pain, I expect them to ban out something like the Batrider, like the Magnus, but Dignitas, one of those teams who can make a lot of different picks work. One thing that I do think Pain has to be on watch out for is that AUI really loves to play Phantom Lancer and really loves to farm up. And Phantom Lancer is definitely one of the hardest carries in the game, along with the Void, but Pain is actually just going to ban out the Wisp. I haven't actually seen Dignitas pick up the Wisp, but Pain probably just doesn't like playing against Wisp, probably doesn't like dealing with it, and this way, they leave a lot of quote-unquote imbalance hero stuff still left in the pool. So Pain, probably going to ban out the Batrider here, I imagine, or the Undying, and whichever one they decide to ban out, they're going to leave Dignitas to pick up with their first pick, but there's still a lot of really strong heroes left in the pool. Jakiro, Rubik, Bounty Hunter, although he's not really as high priority anymore, but Dignitas definitely likes to take advantage of the Bounty Hunter, especially in the offlane position, whether it be snaking or way too sexy. Dignitas really has an effective game plan when they use Bounty Hunter. So, Pain gonna ban out the Batrider, like I predicted, so I expect Dignitas to pick up something like a Nyx or an Undying here. Dignitas is also one of those teams who goes a bit unconventional, so if they go for something like their primary support hero, like the Jakiro, or the Shadow Demon, or the Rubik here, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised. Meanwhile, Pain, unfortunately, I have not watched them too much in Dota 2 thus far. They have been playing decently, and they are in the Defense 3. I'm not too sure what rank they are in the Defense 3. I think Dignitas is at the top of their group, but Pain, again, one of those teams who gives other teams a run for their money, whether it be a top-tier team or, teams on their level. But Dignitas is going to pick up that Nyx, so Pain, will they pick up the Undying here? I feel like Undying might be a little bit overrated. He's got a lot of nerfs. The DK damage nerf, the fact that Decay, not DK, not the Dragonite. It would be cool if Undying had a Dragonite spell, but that might be slightly imbalanced, not too sure. But the Decay spell, because it no longer heals more than was really advertised to do in Dota 2, it was fixed a couple patches ago. Decay no longer does nearly as much damage, and I don't think he really functions nearly as well as primary support, but considering Dignitas did pick up the Nyx, who's a very potent tri-lane hero, I expect Dignitas to... Or I expect Pain to at least consider the Undying, because Undying is probably one of the kings of the tri-lane. His Decay hits in such a big AoE, and the fact that it reduces strength by 4, I mean, that's around 80 HP right there, and in conjunction with the damage it deals, even at level 1, that's 100 damage with a relatively short cooldown. And the fact is that when they regen up, they won't be able to regen up to full HP if the Decay effect is still on them. Makes Undying a really scary hero in the tri-lane, and probably one of the best tri-lane heroes in the game. But Pain thinking long and hard about this. Looks like they're a little bit unsure on how to deal with this Nyx pick. Maybe they're really trying to discuss, okay, Dignitas probably going to pick up their hard carry for AUI. Maybe we should pick up the hard carry here. Maybe we should try to deny them Phantom Lancer or something like that. But Pain going pretty standard. Bounty Hunter not really seen in nearly as high regard anymore. but still not too surprising to see him picked up in a game. A little bit surprising that he's picked up so high, but he's still a very powerful hero, and if his team gets on a roll, then they pretty much will just steamroll their way to victory. But as we saw in the last game, Bounty Hunter, if he doesn't get those ganks off, pretty much doesn't get any farm because the other carries on his team really takes precedence over the farm. So if he doesn't get any track kills, Bounty Hunter is a really, really limited hero. And Dignitas probably know how to deal with the Bounty Hunter relatively well. I think teams have been adapting to the Bounty Hunter, learning how to shut him down lane, learning how to counter gank a bit better. And Bounty Hunter, more often than not, needs a gank partner to sort of pick up the ganks with him and to maximize his track ult. He's not really the best teamfight hero. So if Dignitas just sort of stays as 4+1, or I guess 3 with the 2 gankers, they can have 2 supports protecting AUI, I think Bounty Hunter will be rendered relatively ineffective. Meanwhile, Dignitas thinking quite hard. Will they pick up their carry right here? They have their support for the Trillion set up. They could try to seal up their second support. They are going to seal that up right now with the Keeper of the Light, and they're going to pick up Templar Assassin. So I like these pickups quite a bit because, I mean, Pain can start banning out potential hard carries, but there's so many viable hard carries these days. Tiny, Lifestealer, Phantom Lancer, Gyrocopter. I mean, it's really impossible to ban them all. And Dignitas is one of those teams who can definitely offensive try, and NA in conjunction with Keeper is very, very potent as a try combination. And if Pain wants to ban out offlane heroes, Dignitas will probably just most likely pick up a Trillion if they can't get the offlane hero of their choice. But Pain is going to pick up that Phantom Lancer, saying, alright, we don't want AUI to pick that up himself. We want late game assurance, late game dominance in the form of Phantom Lancer. So they are going to choose himself. I still think Phantom Lancer, again, along with Void, perhaps Spectre, perhaps maybe like a maxed out Tiny, is probably the most powerful hard carry in the game at the moment. But he does take quite a while to ramp up, but fortunately, I don't think he'll be under too much threat. Bounty Hunter really gives Phantom Lancer a lot of problems, but he is on the side of Pain. And as long as Pain keeps up the wards, then really NA and Templar Assassin won't be able to kill Phantom Lancer fast enough until teleports come in. So Dignitas is going to ban out the Tinker. Makes a lot of sense. Tinker, one of those very turtley heroes, and they definitely don't want to take a Phantom Lancer to the late game. Meanwhile, Pain going to ban out a long lane hero in the form of the Lone Druid. Definitely can also solo the mid lane if he has to, but we are going to see Templar Assassin in that mid lane capacity. So I think if I were Pain, I'd start banning out potential offlane heroes, which is what they did in the Lone Druid. So I guess Furion, Windrunner, Darkseer already was banned, Magnus was already banned, Barrett was already banned. So pretty much the only offlane heroes that really are sort of spring to the front of your mind when you think of offlane heroes is Windrunner and that other guy who I mentioned earlier, Furion. You know, Pain is going to ban out the Anti-Mage, so I guess they really fear the power of Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage, if he gets a Battle Fury, can definitely keep Phantom Lancer somewhat in check. If you haven't watched the G League LGD vs DK game, VOD number 2, that is something to be reckoned with, as that is a fantastic game casted by many, many people. Lumi, LD, 2 separate videos. Lumi and Nebula casted one, Winter and LD casted another. So yeah, we definitely saw the power of Anti-Mage versus Phantom Lancer in that game, but also Shadow Demon was a real pain in the butt. But Dignitas won't pick up the Shadow Demon. They already have their 2 primary supports, so Dignitas is going to ban out potential mid lane / offlane heroes. Including Pain, Beastmaster can definitely solo the offlane position, especially on the dire side where Beastmaster has easy access to stacking the Ancients. Tinker can stack the Ancients relatively well as well.
10 seconds remaining.
So I expect Dignitas to try to pick up their hard carry right about now. Just so that they can, or actually they're going to probably pick up their offlane hero right now and leave Pain not too much time. Pain actually used a lot of the reserve time already, so they just want to probably save the hard carry for last, pick up their offlane hero right now, unless they want to go with an aggressive tri-lane. This next pick is really going to speak volumes on how the lanes will shape up. If it's a really aggressive carry, then we might see an aggressive tri-lane from Dignitas, especially to shut down the Phantom Lancer, who is not really the best landing partner without the help of Keeper of the Light. Rubik and Phantom Lancer is not really the strongest lane in the book. And we're going to see a Tiny being picked up. Tiny, a pretty strong carry. That cleave will definitely rip through that Phantom Lancer illusions. But Tiny, I think, probably needs a bit more items. He definitely has more mid-game burst. But in order to compete with Phantom Lancer in the late game, he's probably going to need almost a full stack of items to make that happen. but I have no doubt that Tiny will be played in the hard carry capacity by AUI. Tiny definitely has the potential to carry very, very hard.
10 seconds.
Meanwhile, how will
10
Pain
seconds
respond to
remaining.
this? Will they try to counter the NA? Will they try to counter the Templar Assassin?
5
They already have the
seconds
Bounty Hunter
remaining.
to sort of reveal the approach of NA, but NA always approaches the invisible anyway, so Track isn't really the most effective spell. Jakiro is going to need to pick up by Pain, all-purpose support, helps solidify the trial lane, helps give them a bit of push, gives them a bit of crowd control, makes a bunch of sense. Ever since Jakiro's Ice Path damage was nerfed, he hasn't been really first pick material anymore, but he's still probably one of the most powerful support heroes in the game. And this patch has definitely seen a lot of variations on how you can pick up supports, how you can pick up carries. I've never really seen a patch this varied and this balanced so far. But keep in mind it's only been 1 month, and there's still quote-unquote imbalanced heroes in the game. Magnus, Batrider, Darkseer, to name a couple.
5 seconds remaining.
Nyx. Meanwhile, Dignitas gonna have to pick up their offlane hero here. I don't think Tiny is necessarily the strongest aggressive trying hero, but with the help of Keeper the Light to keep his mana up, he can definitely serve in that capacity.
5
But I think
seconds
Dignitas will most likely pick up sort of an offlane hero, and they are going to pick it up. I'm pretty sure AUI is not really a fan of aggressive tri lanes. At least in all of the games I've watched of him, I've never seen Dignitas really run an offensive tri lane. And Windrunner is going to be the pickup here, so Windrunner, a lot of crowd control, a lot of versatility, and will give access into that mechanism, so will allow Keeper the Light to perhaps go for other items, but Keeper the Light might go for mechanism and allow Windrunner to pick up a really fast force staff. This combination is definitely very versatile on what items they can go for, and picking up really strong items very, very quickly.
5 seconds remaining.
Meanwhile, Pain still have to pick up their mid solo, because other than dual laning mid, I don't really think there is a suitable mid solo who can deal with the Templar Assassin anymore. So I'm going to be interested to see what they choose here. A couple of heroes that do give Templar Assassin a bit of trouble have been banned out: Batrider, Darkseer. Pudge, I think, fares reasonably well against the Templar Assassin until Templar Assassin starts picking up more points into that range, but Rot Hook pulls the Templar Assassin out of position. But at this point, there's no real standard mid-solo heroes that can really handle TA in the mid lane. So I'm not too sure what Pain will go for. They might be forced to run dual lanes, maybe like a Jakiro, but no, they're going to pick up Axe, and I think this is going to be a mid lane Axe, because Axe actually performs very, very well against Templar Assassin. Battle Hunger actually gives TA nightmares in lane, drains refraction charges, really forces the last hits, and the fact that Battle Hunger drains that refraction charges so fast reduces Templar Assassin's base damage from the refraction by a pretty big amount. So Axe, really, really creative pickup. Gyrocopter also would have been, I guess, a solid pickup, but I think he needs too much farm, especially with the PL on his team. And just looking at Axe's build, he could potentially still jungle, but and leave Rubik in the mid lane, but Rubik gets beaten by TA relatively easily, I think. But we'll take a look at the players and the teams. So on the side of Dignitas, drumroll please, we're going to have Fogged playing the Keeper of the Light, Universe playing the Windrunner, Snaking playing the Templar Assassin, AUI playing the Tiny and Way Too Sexy playing the Nyx. Meanwhile, on the side of Pain, we're going to have Pada playing the Jakiro, Fuga playing the Phantom Lancer, King RD playing the Axe, Grant XD playing the Rubik, and China playing the Bounty Hunter. So yeah, while I fast forward through this pause, thanks for joining me. It's gonna keep up with the 1 video a day for January streak. Only 5 days in, but still feel pretty strong, not really too drained. But I expect as the games get longer, I might become a bit more drained. And once school starts back up, definitely have a lot less time, but I'm gonna try to keep with it, guys, so hopefully you'll keep supporting me and spread the word and all that jazz. And of course, if you want an alternative VOD, check out youtube.com/joindota. Although at the time of this casting, their YouTube account has been suspended. Hopefully that will get fixed, but you can check out the Own3D VODs on their channel. And yeah, if you want another cast, I'm sure Toby probably did another really solid job at doing this game. As I think I fast-forwarded it. I'm pretty sure I fast-forwarded it. I did fast-forward it. Dang. Why doubt yourself? Never doubt yourself, guys. So I was wondering for a moment if Universe was going to actually be a support, but now Keeper the Light does have Observer Ward. He is going to be a support. Support Windrunner, not really the worst thing happen, and we definitely seen Demon play Keeper the Light off lane very, very competently, but that's usually on the dire side, whereas a bit more, he has an easier time juking into the trees, which Demon does pretty much better than anyone else, but we are going to see that support, or the offlane winner, pretty standard. And if we just look at the lanes, I don't really think a Phantom Lancer, Jakiro, Rubik lane will be able to kill Windrunner unless they get a perfect Ice Path and a Telekinesis. And Telekinesis definitely helps set up any combination, but once Windrunner picks up something like a Magic Wand or a Null Talisman to get a bit more HP, she should be okay. But Windrunner might be pincered at the moment. Universe does see a rune, but already has 1 point to Windrun, and that's actually going to steal the haste rune right from underneath the nose, but Telekinesis is going to fly, and here comes the Ice Path, not going to be casted. Windrunner too fast. I think they could have actually gotten the kill if they really wanted to, but Windrunner was still saving onto the Windrun ability. Probably would have been able to cast it while the Ice Path was flying in, and actually Jakiro was taking a bunch of damage in that mid lane, or on that top lane. And we are going to see a mid lane Axe with the counter helix. Axe can pretty much just right click TA, reduce her HP. TA not really the most buff mid lane hero in terms of HP, but that refraction charge does a reasonable job dealing with the counter helix. But once Axe starts getting points with that battle hunger, TA is just going to have a really, really difficult time staying this lane against Axe. And Axe, I think, serves pretty well. Difficult to gank with the NA and Keeper of the Light. Doesn't need much mana to be drained. Can survive Tiny's assault better than most heroes, but looks like Snaking is actually taking a bunch of damage from that Battle Hunger and counter helix stacks, and look at this huge creep wave. If Axe actually dies with the Battle Hunger, he might be able to pick up a kill, as Snaking is just taking a bunch of damage right now, and it's going to be really difficult for him to get back in the lane. Can he actually take it? The creep's already at the tier 2 lane, and that means creep pressure is going to be applied, but here comes support by Universe, recognizing that the top tri lane is going to be a bit too much, and King Artie is going to back up, but still, Stout Shield blocking a bunch of damage, armor, relatively beefy hero Axes. And I wonder if King Artie's actually going to go for a bottle. I think that would make the most sense, just to spam that Battle Hunger, really keep snaking back. And you can see Snaking pretty much out of mana. It's going to have that battle up right about now. So that's going to give him a little bit more lane sustainability. Meanwhile, Phantom Lancer had a bit more trouble last hitting under the tower. As opposed to Tiny, has better base damage, better animation. And a little less damage randomness. You can see Phantom Lancer's damage randomness is a little bit very variable. 22 difference between the minimum and the maximum damage, meanwhile Tiny has no trouble in that regard, only 6 damage difference. And it's interesting to see Universe completely abandon that top lane altogether. No wards were given to him to really block off the creep pulls, and so without any vision, Universe can't really stay in the lane, so it's going to be, I guess, a pseudo dual lane mid. And Snaking did have the bottle up, he has the bottle up, so he's going to have to bottle up right about now, but the thing about Battle Hunger is that it lasts so long. And here comes Shine with the double damage rune. The Rain did spot it because they do have wards spotting the rune. Actually, I'm not too sure if that ward actually sees the rune. I don't think it does.
Denied.
So it's sort of a tri-lane versus Axe mid, and we are going to see a rotation by Brown, the bounty hunter again. But yeah, so far Dignitas getting thrown a bit for a loop right now. Way 2 has rotated to the mid lane. It is going to probably provide a bit of mana drain pressure, 115 mana burn right off the bat, but Axe is just going to bottle up Battle Hunger very, very low in terms of mana cost. Interestingly enough, he actually put a point to Berserker's Call as well. Maybe just to give him a bit more armor. I don't imagine he'll skill that over Battle Hunger. And I imagine he's going to only take level 1 counter helix as well. But you can see Templar Assassin taking a bunch of damage. Did use the Berserker's Call. And oh my god, Snaking is going to feed First Blood to a mid lane Axe. Axe OP hero. Best mid lane hero in the game. I never doubted you for a second. And I mean, I don't think Snaking necessarily played too bad. But now Way 2 is going to take a Battle Hunger right to the face. And NA's attack animation pretty bad. So he's actually going to take a little bit too much damage from this engagement. But Axe just beats Templar Assassin mid. What more can you say? Meanwhile, AUI, of course, one of those carries who is well known for picking unconventional item builds. Likes to go Mjolnir on Bear, likes to go Manta on Broodmother. First item, of course, rather than anything like an Orchid or anything like that. And he's going to pick up the treads rather than the standard phase boots. I think he said he likes picking up attack speed on Tiny so he doesn't have to get other attack speed items so early. You can go straight up damage soon enough. But we'll see, as looks like Axe is going to do some bottle currying it up. And meanwhile, T8 gonna bottle herself an illusion rune. Meanwhile, Phantom Lancer has picked up the CS. Now the creeps are not underneath her tower. Did he get a Quelling Blade? Yes. So now he should not have any problems last hitting whatsoever. And you can see Axe gonna give Snaking a lot of trouble right off the bat. And Berserker's Call will just immediately get through that Mel, but Snaking is just doing some nice blocking, doing some nice juking. One more hit will mean the end of King RD. Axe, lower base movement speed, then Templar Assassin is gonna use the Berserker's Call to give himself a bit more armor. Here comes the Ice Path, and looks like the Axe will survive. First he was afraid, but then Jakiro petrified the Templar Assassin. Here comes a Battle Hunger as Snaking, playing very aggressively, is going to pick up the kill on Jakiro. Nicely done by Snaking, redeeming himself a little bit in that mid lane, and he's going to drive Axe off the lane quite a bit. So Snaking just going to power his way back into contention in the mid lane, is actually out-leveling Axe, I do believe. Now Axe is level 6, a full level ahead of the TA, but TA is going to have benefit from that tower gold, which was picked up on the bottom lane. So Dignitas already getting the push going down, and gonna give their supports a lot of gold to work with. Allows NA to roam a bit more, allows Keeper the Light to help out other lanes potentially. Universe, on the other hand, is having a miserable time on that top lane, only level 2. And you can see Axe, he's back in the thick of things. Just gonna constantly harass the Templar Assassin, forcing her to go back to the neutrals to pick up some farm. Gonna constantly hog the courier to get that Balacro spam under control, or get her HP levels back up. And meanwhile, Universe, you can see level 6 Phantom Lance or level 3 Phantom Lance pretty much does, or level 3 Spirit Lance pretty much does a third to almost a half of HP's, or half of Windrunner's HP at level 2. So far it's pretty difficult to say who has the advantage. I think at this point Pain has a solid, or not really solid, has a slight advantage. Dignitas does have the tower lead, so that's going to help out their supports, but Phantom Lancer I think will outcarry Tiny in the late game. It's difficult to tell because Tiny just cleaves so hard with that Aghanim Scepter, can actually just give Phantom Lancer nightmares. So it's pretty difficult to say, as here comes the Berserker's Call again, draining all of TA's Refraction charges with that Battle Hunger as well. Axe is just going to pop the Magic Wand, and TA's Refraction I think is on cooldown. Here comes the Quelling Blade. King RD just chops off the head of that Templar Assassin. Meanwhile on the top lane, Universe takes fall. No, so now Pain getting a solid advantage. Will they push the tower? Tower's still at full HP. It's not going to get pushed anytime soon. But so far, Dignitas not really playing the best at this point. But still, Tiny is free farming. And you can see AUI not bothering for things like a Yasha or Drums, just going to go straight for that Aghanims into probably damage. Maybe we'll pick up Manta Style, not too sure. But AUI definitely has unconventional item approaches, as King RD gonna take a bunch of damage from Templar Assassin in mid lane, but here comes rotation by Rubik. Will Rubik be able to get the telekinesis? Does get the telekinesis. Battle Hunger is casted as well. Here comes the Jewel Breath, and that damage over time is just gonna melt through TA's Refraction charges. Way too trying to get impaled, trying to get 2 people, but only got the Jakiro. But here comes the Bounty Hunter, gonna go back in, able to pick up a kill, and meanwhile Axe is gonna approach back in. The power shot just barely lifts on Axe, but I think it wouldn't have been enough to kill him anyway. Keeper Light gonna get the snipe off on King RD, but Razor or China able to pick up the kill on Nyx Assassin as well. So 2 for 1 Axe did die in that mid lane, but TA and NA paid for it with their lives. So overall, a very nice trade for Pain, as Bounty Hunter picked himself a nice bit of experience. I'm sure Pain would have absolutely loved that engagement if Bounty Hunter was level 6, but unfortunately just level 5. But so far, Pain really showing why they give top teams such big problems. They just play unconventional heroes, play in an unconventional style, and just give other top teams a lot of fits. And they definitely have a solid advantage in this game thus far. So, Dignitas, you're going to have to watch out, because this is by no means an easy victory, as I'm sure a lot of people would think Brazilian Dota, best Dota. As Phantom Lancer, knowing that he was safe in the Trine, actually just going to skip Doppelwalk altogether. Some Phantom Lancers get 1 point into that double walk just for maybe a bit of move speed in terms of catching up to pick up a kill, or for a last ditch effort to escape, but this Phantom Lancer just going to skip it altogether. Got a couple points in his stats, 2 points in his stats, and now he's going to start skilling Juxtapose. And really Doppelwalk against detection won't really save you from too many engagements in the early game when you have paper thin HP. And that extra stats will just help Phantom Lancer's base damage. And keep in mind, Phantom Lancer 4.2 agility growth per level. Kind of ridiculous if you think about it. Meanwhile, Axe is going to clear out this giant neutral stack with the help of Bounty Hunter, so Bounty Hunter is going to hit level 6 off of this stack, I imagine. Yes, he is, and meanwhile, King RD has the Tranquil Boots. I imagine he's going to go for straight up Blink Dagger since he already has a bottle to help refuel his mana. but could also go for Vanguard. I don't really think he needs to tank up too hard at this point. Tiny's not really too big of a threat. So I think Blink Dagger is going to be out of choice, but Telekinesis is going to be casted on Snaking as he's just going to melt. Was the track used? I think track was used. No, track wasn't used, as it wouldn't have cooled down that fast. Track, low cooldown, but not that low, at level 1. So a bit unfortunate by the Bounty Hunter. Maybe he did get the track off, I'm not too sure, but still, the end goal was accomplished, keeping Snaking down. Snaking not having a good game. I don't really think Snaking's playing bad. It's just that they're just devoting so much focus to shutting down this Templar Assassin. And that might actually be a blessing in disguise, because again, Tiny I think fares quite well against Phantom Lancer in the late game compared to other carries, just because he has that massive cleave that can just rip through other teams' carries in an instant, especially an illusion-based carry like Phantom Lancer. So even though Snaking is 1-4, things are not going all wrong. Again, Tiny free farming it up, but keep in mind Phantom Lancer is keeping up with the Tiny at this point. Going to go for the Vanguard. I wonder if he's going to go for Raids for a split push, or if he's just going for the damage of Diffusal and get that Purge going and try to win the mid game. I think Radiance would be a better choice in this game because Tiny going to pick up Blink Dagger, but meanwhile, Snaking, say it ain't so, as Jakiro going to cancel his Ice Path, trying to catch multiple heroes. Does get way too in there, as looks like the Rubik going to take a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, Illuminate not too high leveled, but King RD doesn't give any sorts of damage. Just going to chop off that Templar Assassin's head with one swift blow of his axe. Templar Assassin did not enjoy that whatsoever. And I think a track kill was picked up by that, but you can see the mid lane, or the early to mid game power of Pain with this high level axe is just giving Dignitas fits at this point. And really, Pain is playing remarkably well. And we'll check out the early game gold graph. Keep in mind, Dignitas did have a tower advantage, so that was why they had a slight gold lead. And AUI was keeping up in farm with the Phantom Lancer. But now you can see it's starting to go a bit back towards the tower, even though the tower advantage is still in favor of Dignitas. But the real telling is the experience because of the kills, and the fact that they're keeping TA down, keeping the supports down, means that the experience graph heavily favors Pain at this point. You know, Pain does not want to relent. No Absorber would be placed because AUI felt relatively safe, but here comes a smoke gank. Ice Path, AUI might be in a lot of trouble. Bounty Hunter is going to initiate Telekinesis, is going to lift AUI back up into the air, Jewel Breath, and this is going to mean a track kill, but Rubik stole Refraction. Nicely done by the Rubik, as he was able to survive, so Dignitas getting completely outplayed at this point, as even if there was a ward there to spot out the movement, the other heroes on the tower were smoked up, and uh-oh. Will Universe pay for it with his life as well? He is going to get Janad and Telekinesis and Track going to get lifted back up in the air, but the Ice Path does lift. Maybe a bit of delay. I'm not too sure, but Universe is going to survive. I think if Jakiro hit the Ice Path, Universe would have taken the fall, but still keeping Universe back a bit. And Bounty Hunter is going to enjoy his track, but meanwhile Axe just going to be a complete badass in the mid lane, going to cast the Battle Hunger onto Way 2. Way 2 is going to take a bunch of damage from that maxed up Battle Hunger, but Axe will pay for it with his life as Illuminate level 4 flies in, cleaning up the kill. And Way 2 will survive with that magic stick, going to heal him back up. Actually, will he survive? He will, just barely. Going to use that spiked carapace to constantly reflect the damage, as I think he probably got 2 instances of that spiked carapace off, definitely helping to save his life right there. But still, AUI did take the fall on the bottom lane. Meanwhile, so that's going to slow down his Agnes progress. Meanwhile, Phantom Lancer going to go for that Relic build. And a lot of professional players, not really a big fan of Relic just because it only gives them plus damage and split pushing, but I like picking it up just because it allows me to farm jungle and lane, and pretty much 2 lanes in the jungle if I really have to, a lot quicker into the game before I get too many stats. But, you know, pros like that damage ASAP, and like that teamfight relevance ASAP, but Illuminate gonna fly back in, Way 2 is gonna initiate, but actually Centroid Spot Out is moving, can't get the Vendetta hit off of him, and looks like NA does take the fall. Nyx Assassin ain't assassinating anybody at this point, so Dignitas again just getting thrown for a loop right now. And meanwhile, I think a lot of pressure is going to have to go on to AUI, as here comes the Illuminate flying in once again. Axe might have to pick up the hood or the pipe, because there is actually a lot of magical damage flying in from the Radiant, but has that Vanguard to help keep him in the lane. Meanwhile, Illuminate constantly being channeled by Fogged, and that looks like Fogged is going to go for that mechanism, going to leave Winter to pick up the fast 4 staff, as Bounty Hunter spies a Wild Haste Rune in the river, going to leave it for the Axe. to claim and try to keep up the gaining path. And now we'll check out the levels. You can see levels actually relatively even across the board. Only these level 8s on the Dire are really a bit troubling. But other than that, the higher levels on the side of the Dire are, for the most part, higher level than the Templar Assassin, than the Keeper of the Light. So actually, experience graph should start evening out. Only a 2k experience advantage. Definitely nothing to write home about. And Dignitas has slowed down the assault a bit, even if they haven't caught up in terms of kills. But keep in mind, there is that Phantom Lancer problem they have to consider as the GPM. Not really the most relevant at this point. Last hit's definitely going to speak a more fitting tale. 100 last hits, 109 last hits, both for both of the carries, until AUI jumped out ahead, as he can farm definitely a lot faster with that Avatos combination. Already finished the Actim, so his farm rate is actually going to accelerate quite a bit, and now Dignitas is probably going to stack these Ancients like AUI probably cleared up a stack right there. And I wonder what he'll go for now. Will he go for straight up AC? Will he go for something like a Mask Madness? As looks like Wei2's going to get initiated. And Vendetta, Mana Bird, nice initiation. And AOI does clean up the kill. Nice coordination by Dignitas, as they definitely pride themselves on their team play. But Snaking going to take a bunch of damage. Will he actually take the fall? Axe was waiting for the cooldown Berserker's call, but he will take the fall indeed. One more Battle Hunger. Going to renew the kill, and track is going to be given to the Bounty Hunter and to the Axe. And Universe is going to be on the tree. Here comes the teleport in by Wei2 as head. Can you get an impale off? No, he cannot, but he does manage to save the life of Universe. And meanwhile, the middle tower taking a bunch of damage. As actually, Bounty Hunter did get the kill on Universe. Did not expect that to happen. I thought Bounty Hunter was out of mana, but he's out of mana now because he did get the kill. And I wonder if that was a track kill. I think it was, but here comes AUI. He is going to be forced to retreat. Phantom Lancer too beefy with those stats, as AUI going to find himself regenerating. Ice Path going to fly in, but AUI is going to take a lot of damage in this engagement, but they're not going to keep up the chase. I think they could have potentially gotten the kill. Phantom Lancer has a lot of mana. He did go for a lot of stats early on, and is actually scaling more stats. Only going to keep 1 point to Juxtapose at this stage in the game. I guess he's only going to start maxing Juxtapose once he picks up the reins, which he does have the relic, so he's getting very, very close very, very quickly. And his illusions with the stats with the Vanguard are quite tanky at this stage. With that reins being picked up, it's going to just be very, very difficult for Dignitas to handle. And really, a lot of it's going to come down to AUI's next item choice, as I'm not really too sure what he'll pick up, as Axe does disconnect, and Axe definitely proving to be a thorn in the side of Dignitas at this stage in the game. Gonna fast forward it right here. Axe very close to that dagger. Again, gold graph slightly in favor of the Dire, even though the Rain do have a tower advantage, as looks like PC did crash. Meanwhile, experience graph slightly in favor of the Dire. Unfortunately, Bounty Hunter, well, he's actually participated in 7 kills, but I think at least 2 or 3 were not track kills, but he is going to pick up the drums right about now. He's actually starting to get his gold flowing, so a bit better Bounty Hunter performance than we saw in the last game. Jakiro just playing the warding hero at this point, has the Tranquil Boots. Phantom Lancer are going to have the reins up relatively soon, probably about the 18.5 minute mark, if he manages to get uninterrupted farm. Meanwhile, Snaking gonna go straight up for that Yasha, just gonna give mass mobility rather than anything like a dagger. He knows even if he does get a dagger, Battle Hunger, Radiance will just cancel that dagger so often that he really needs to start getting mobility and tanking items in order to survive these engagements. Snaking 1-6-1 is really just having a miserable time in this game. They'll Wei2 playing reasonably well, level 8, but they have not been able to get the gank parties. Looks like Pain has completely locked down the ganking ability of Dignitas, so I think Dignitas, even though they are going to face a Phantom Lancer in the late game, they're just going to have to farm up. And they do have the heroes to farm up with. They have Cupid Light to help defend. They have NA to drain the mana, and they have Tiny to clear creeps very, very quickly. But Tiny versus Phantom Lancer, always an iffy matchup. And even though Tiny does fare well against Phantom Lancer, like I always mention, or like I've mentioned several times in this cast already, I mean, it's a Phantom Lancer. You really don't want to have to deal with them one-on-one in the late game. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter is on the prowl to finish off the Keep of the Light. As I fast forward again, you can see those clouds rolling by, a storm's coming, and it is that Bounty Hunter and the Axe. as he's going to come in as well. But he does reconnect. Go is the call by snaking. He's loading. As I think I'm on the right speed now. Yes, I am. So I think Dignitas gonna have to turtle a bit, as Fox says, while you're on friend. Radiant Ward was finding out the positioning of that bounty hunter. Maybe Fog just being playful, saying, okay, maybe I've been map pack, but I'm sure bounty hunter actually hit Fogged, so Fog knew that bounty hunter was there anyway without the help of the sentry. But again, bounty hunter chasing in past 2 towers could potentially have been very, very deadly. As Dignitas is going to group up, allowing AUI to play 4v1, 4 protect 1 strategy. Going to group up push towers with the help of Keeper the Light and Universe, and allow AUI to farm up. But meanwhile, looks like Pain doing a relatively similar idea, as Impale Fade Bolt act as a pseudo Illuminate. Rubik actually going to go for that 4 staff as well, pretty farmed, as he's been able to help up out in the wards as well. 4 to 11. Meanwhile, how far is PL away from the reins? Unfortunately, can't check the illusion for PL's gold. He is going to pick it up by around the 18.5 minute mark, like I predicted. And Nax is going to have the dagger, so I wonder if Pain's going to start pushing in right now, or if they're going to keep farming. I mean, they definitely have the potential to keep farming. They have a Phantom Lancer, but still, I don't know if you really want to keep farming against a team like Dignitas when you already have the advantage. I think you sort of want to end the game against them. Especially since, in most situations, Dignitas is considered a stronger team, but Telekinesis and Bounty Hunter are able to kill Wei 2, who's a bit out of position. Was scouted, wrapping around, I guess. So if I were Pain, I'd start pushing in, but they might have better ideas. Again, Phantom Lancer always can appreciate the farm, as here comes the Blink Dire Axe. Does get 2 heroes into the Berserker's Call. Ice Path not playing in just yet. Fog does get the Blinding Light to reduce the damage and to push everybody away, but he eventually does die. Meanwhile, AUI trying to do what he can, but he's just being kited all over the place. Power Shot, cleaning up the kill, and Bounty Hunter Phantom Lancer is in the midst of everything, doing Radiance damage. I think he could have kept up the kills if he wanted to. Still relatively tanky, as he has 1k HP to play around with. Actually, wow. No, he was level 11 when... 4, 3, 9. So 4 points in stats. Okay, so he got a couple more points in stats. I thought he was just saving his skill points and then just skilled them all when he got the raids. But here comes the initiation shackle shot onto Rubik, but a nice toss back by AUI. Beautiful positioning by AUI as he's just handling the other sides of Pain, trying to keep his team into the game. But AUI going to take a bunch of damage. Can he escape Phantom Lancer? Going to try to get a Spirit Lance off. AUI might just take the fall to the Battle Hunger. No, he is going to survive from the Fallon. Meanwhile, Axe just blinking in constantly, keeping up the pursuit. Refraction, Battle Hunger draining all of the refraction charges with that Radiance. Ice Path going to fly in as well, but was adeptly dodged by Dignitas, just a little bit off the mark by Prada. And Dignitas able to kill the tower, and I think it was 4 to 11 before that, so I guess a 2-for-2 exchange. But Dignitas did get a tower in return.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Meal didn't really need to narrate that, just took a sip of water. We saw Bounty Hunter explode in a burst of glory, or burst of inglory, as Ice Path gonna catch 2 heroes. Can Jakiro escape? Should be able to escape, as he is gonna get away just fine. Meanwhile, Phantom Lancer are gonna clean up a bottom tier 1 tower, as I wonder if he's gonna go for straight apart. Probably gonna finish his treads, I imagine. Usually, I mean, this is me with a scrub mentality. Usually when I have naked boots at this point, I just say, alright, just gonna save for a late game trial, especially with a carry like Phantom Lancer, but I think Phantom Lancer probably gonna pick up the treads. He is gonna pick up the treads.
Top tower is under attack.
And meanwhile, AUI gonna clean up the top tier 1 tower, is gonna go straight up for the Crystalist, saying, who needs attack speed? I don't need attack speed. As usually AUI does do this build with when he has a Wisp on his team, so Wisp can give him a bit more attack speed, but now he's just relying on just straight up treads, and he is going to go back into that Mantis style. No real bonus attack speed on his team, as AUI just going to charge into the forefront. Meanwhile, Fogged is going to get shouted out. Looks like the Bounty Hunter is going to get tossed into the air avalanche as well. Wei 2 does get the last hit. Meanwhile, Prada taking a bunch of damage, or Pada taking a bunch of damage as well. Phantom Lancer does join the party without Rubik. manages to clean up Fogged. Axe again blinking in. Unfortunately, mistimed the Berserker's call. Probably was on cooldown. AUI gonna clean up the Rubik. Meanwhile, where is Phantomlighter? He's running away. He's out of mana. AUI is forced to teleport out. So despite Phantomlighter having the reins, Dignitas able to win these battles, as I think that was 4 for 1? 4 for 2 at the very least, in favor of Dignitas, and forced to buyback by Pain as well. So nice engagement by Dignitas, as they are definitely, with their mid-game team fights, getting themselves back in the game, and putting Pain a bit on their heels, saying, okay, that axe gimmick was cute in the early game. But again, Bounty Hunter without too much farm in the mid-game, without too many track kills, really just becomes a little bit of an unreliable semi-carry. As Jakiro's going to clean up a ward. Now you can see a slight goal advantage despite Radiant having a bit of a commanding tower lead. Actually, all the... No, Pain has taken 2 towers, meanwhile Dignitas has taken 3. So that's where all the gold difference is coming to, but now the experience starting to spiral back in favor of Dignitas because they've been able to get more mid-game kills, which mean more experience in the long run rather than early game kills. And Pain trying to get a bit of momentum, gonna go for that Roshan. TA, did she have a trap scouting out the movement? No, it looks like Dignitas do not suspect a thing, as TA is gonna retreat, gonna try to pick up that Manta style, imagine, very, very soon. Meanwhile, yep, Manta style is finished. I think that's probably AUI's Manta. Or it might be Snaking's, I'm not too sure. Phantomlighter does get an Aegis, so hopefully we'll be able to stick around these battles. Phantomlighter always in these battles at around half to 3/4 HP, but always out of mana. But now he can just sort of charge in bravely. Doesn't really have to rely so heavily on his Spirit Lance to do so much damage without putting himself into huge risk. As Axe blinks in, does catch Fog. Fogged is going to take the fall right about now. Track kills a Bound, going to give a nice bounty towards the Dire, and they should be able to clean up this tower, especially without the pressure of Illuminate flying in, just destroying the creep wave, doing a huge amount of damage. And so Pain with the Roshan kill, with the initiation onto Fog, they might even be able to clean up a tier 2 since Fog's out of the picture. And Keeper of the Light, such an annoying hero to deal with against pushes, but Universe gonna get called, gonna get Culling Blade as well, no, just gonna die in a blaze of ice and fire. So Pain trying to regain some of the momentum, definitely will be able to be on top by a considerable margin if they clean up this tier 2 tower. But Fogged will respawn very, very shortly. Meanwhile, AUI will teleport back to the bottom lane, or back to the mid lane. He's just going to give up this tower. Blink in by Axe yet again, just trying to drive away the rain squad. Ice Path going to freeze Snaking in place, but he was melted, so it's not going to reveal him. And meanwhile, AUI just contentedly farming up, going to be able to be close to that Demon Edge relatively shortly. And now he's just going to be waiting on that crit. One crit is all Tiny needs to clean up pretty much an entire team fight. Minus the Phantomlighter in the Axe. Actually, Jakiro pretty tanky support as well. But this Jakiro, only with Boots of Tranquility, or Tranquil Boots, and a lot of words to his name. Meanwhile, I would hope Pain would keep up the push since they've been able to get a bit of momentum back on their side. But I guess they're going to try to get pickoffs. They were able to push down 2 towers because they were able to clean up Fogged, who is a lot of anti-push. Meanwhile, Phantomlighter might very well just lose his Aegis. No dire word spotting out the movement of these Radiant heroes, but nice awareness by Fuga as he's able to escape relatively easily. Taking another look at the gold graph, you can see the gold graph pretty even. 3k gold at this stage in the game is definitely very easy to overcome, and the fact that Tiny, even against Radiant's Phantomlighter, who can farm the jungle and farm the lane, with that immense cleave can just farm creeps much more quickly than Phantomlighter, is able to out-farm the Phantomlighter at this point is very, very impressive. As he is going to have maybe 300 CS by the 30-minute mark, at least by the 32-minute mark. As Axe playing with fire, does have a blade mail, but one thwack, 873 damage with that Dados, as Axe is going to get the heck out of there. Going to cast a blade mail, but is unable to reflect any damage. And Wave 2 is going to come in. Here comes the Impale. Any reinforcements by Dignitas? No, they're going to back off. They had vision with that ward, but were did not want to take that engagement, and here comes the reinforcement brigade. Aegis Phantomites are going to clean up Fogged. Meanwhile, TA going to take a ridiculous amount of damage from the Reigns. Meanwhile, AY was able to pick up a kill onto Axe. Can he clean up the rest of Pain? I feel like Axe is such a crucial part of Pain's teamfight that without him, they might just all die, but Phantomites, it does have the Aegis. AY will take the fall at the very least. So nice engagement overall. A pretty neutral engage, but AY just cleaning up everybody left and right. Can they actually kill AY? Spiritlight's going to fly back in, as the Aegis does allow the Phantomites to get back, and Shackle Shot, can they save Wave 2? They will be able to save Wave 2, as overall that engagement a bit in favor of Dignitas 3 for 3, but they did take down the Aegis. But the fact that Tiny died actually leads me to believe that it might be neutral to slightly in favor of Pain, but now the Daedalus has been revealed. One hit cleaved Axe's HP to half, even with the Blade Mail, even with the Vanguard. One hit from the Tiny is all you need. Sort of like a Sven with God Strength, except with more range. How scary is that, guys? Pretty scary. And Phantomites are so much pressure is going on the Phantomites, and now he's going to tank up. He's pretty much going to have to do all the damage and be all the tank on the side of his team, because Tiny will just cleave down the rest of his team in a heartbeat. Phantomites is going to have the heart up right about now. Yes, that is going to be the heart. And now I think he's probably going to go back into Diffusal to really purge down the Tiny and just drain a lot of mana. But still, that's not damage. That won't be able to help the clean up the Tiny. Allow him to survive. Allows the Illusions to survive as well. But again, he really wants to start getting damage at this point. As the Dyrus Curry did get sniped by Wave 2, nice awareness as they saw the heart recipe being delivered by one of these wards, and Wave 2 is able to get an easy kill with that Vendetta. Always something you should do, considering Vendetta pretty short cooldown. So now, wonder what Pain will do, because AUI is starting to get pretty scary, and ever since the mid-game, even though the kill lead has been relatively similar, I feel like Dignitas has captured back some of the momentum, and against Dignitas, you sort of always want to have them on their heels, as they are a very, very scary team, to say the least. And again, we're seeing the limitations of Bounty Hunter as a hero. If he does not get off to a good start, he just sort of becomes fodder in these engagements, in these huge teamfight engagements, which pretty much decide the flow of the game. So this is why we've been seeing a lot less Bounty Hunter these days, as Jakiro has just been dirt broke. Disassembled the Tranquil Boots to get that mechanism up, but he will still die very quickly. But again, one mecha heal will equate to, I guess, 1.5 Tiny hits if he doesn't get a crit. Meanwhile, tower trade is going to occur, but even against 4, Tiny I feel like might be able to outpush the side of the Dire, considering that illusions are not made when you attack building. So it's pretty difficult to call how this game will go, as looks like Dignitas do have... Actually, they are behind in terms of towers. That is pretty much the only reason why the goal graph is slightly in favor of Pain, but Tiny has been outfiring pretty much everybody else on Pain. Experience graph, this is such a close game, it's so difficult to call. Very, very exciting game, 600 GPM being averaged by Tiny, as the net worth slightly in Phantomites' favor. He has not died nearly as much as the Tiny, but Tiny just able to pick up an item right about now. Gonna pick up just a massive amount of gold from killing the Ancients, I guess, and he has 3.5k gold to play around with. I imagine he's going to finish up Manta style, and a lot of Ties don't even get BKB, but no, I guess in this game BKB wouldn't be a good choice either, because Berserker's Call goes right through it. You just really want to get damage, just cleave down the annoying Phantom Monster ASAP, and here comes the Lance Brigade. They are hunting Wave 2, but even Impales and Illuminates not enough to clean up these Phantom Monster armies at the moment. But still, the game is very, very close. It's really difficult to call at this stage. Heroes pretty much across the board are pretty equal, but I think the key factor could be snaking his damage in the mid-game. He has been able to clean up his farm, only has died once since that abysmal bit early game, and has picked up 3 kills to boot. He was 1-6, now 4-7-4, able to contribute a bit more, has the med style, has the Crystallis to give him more damage, and he's going to be a bit tank if he switches those shreds to strength treads. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter, I feel like, is just struggling too hard in these engagements, And the fact that Tiny kills people so quickly, meanwhile Phantom Lancer without too much damage is just sort of a slow methodical death, means that burst damage carries like Tiny and Templar Assassin will just be able to clean up heroes like Vanir, like Axe, like Rubik before they can really make too many things happen. But I could be just wrong. The raw power of Phantom Lancer in the late game just might be able to clean up Dignitas as here comes the engagement. Ice Path gonna fly in. Way 2 is gonna take all the damage in the world. He is gonna die. As Axe is gonna take a ridiculous amount of damage, gonna get tossed backward, but one more thwack of that mighty tree able to clean up the kill on Axe. 1-for-1 Axe is gonna buy back. Not really too sure if that was completely necessary, as looks like Pain was not gonna go on the offensive, but he's just gonna buy back. I wonder. I guess he wasn't really saving up too much gold, but 800 gold. But again, I guess they want to get the map control because Roshan's going to respawn soon. I guess that's why Axe bought back. They would just want to get the map control back on their side so they can take an Aegis again for the Phantom Lancer. Because again, Phantom Lancer without too much damage is pretty much the only choice Pain has to match up against this ridiculously farmed Tiny. And it might be time to start picking up Ghost Scepter's Force Staffs, 1 Force Staff up on the Rubik. They just really need to kite around Tiny. And the fact that they have a couple stuns, but not really too many hardcore disables that can really slow down Tiny for a huge duration. And the fact that Axe sort of wants to attack, but Tiny can still crit on the Axe and just sort of cleave the damage back onto other heroes is kind of a double-edged sword. So a bit of an awkward situation for Pain. But I still think they might be slightly ahead. Although that buyback I don't think helped matters at all. Meanwhile, Dignitas just gonna split push it up, checking out Universe's M, has the 4 staff, gonna go for that Hex, way 2. Still level 12, pretty much playing the support role. As wards across the map, seems like both teams have relatively even map control. Meanwhile, AY fished up a straight up Satanic, wow! So he's gonna be pretty much invincible unless Phantom Lancer can just burst him out, but the Phantom Lancer has no item to speak of. And now the Satanic is gonna reveal itself, because AY did clean up those creeps very, very quickly. Meanwhile, Roshan is going to be attempted by the Dire. I think Dignitas probably wrote down the Roshan timer so they know what's going on, even if they don't have the map control to see it. No, they do see it because this Sentry Ward, expertly placed by probably way too fogged, able to spot the movements. And here comes the engagement. Avalanche toss going to go on to King RD, going to pop the Blade Mail as well as the Berserker's Call. He's forced to run as Macropire actually doing a huge amount of damage, but 1 thwack, 2 thwack, able to clean up the kill. You know, way too might be the next one to die. As, oh man, snaking with a huge burst of damage, able to clean up the Rubik, and Dignitas able to get themselves back in the game. Rubik is going to buy back. I don't think they can contest this Roshan, especially with Axe buyback on cooldown. TA is going to pick up the Aegis. Phantom Lancer is going to have to get the heck out of there. Radiant Sentry Ward are spotting out the movement of the Phantom Lancer. He's going to get mana leaked. Will he die? He's going to be forced to waste a lot of the gold that he wanted to pick up damage items with, and he is going to have to buy back right now. That's going to be so unfortunate for Pain, as Pain is just starting to lose momentum so quickly. They might just have waited too long. Might have just given Snaking and AOI too much time to farm back up, as Dignitas might be able to clean up the mid-rack or the bottom barracks. Even if Phantom Lancer buys back, I'm not too sure what Pain can do, because there is an Aegis on Snaking. But Dignitas is going to give Pain a bit of a breather right here. They are not going to play it too aggressively. They know they have a huge advantage. And if I were Phantom Lancer, I'd just start considering buying Hex. Just mass Hexes. That's the only way I can see this Tiny being shut down. Keep in mind, he doesn't have an Aegis, but he does have the Satanic, which is pretty much like an Aegis. If he gets 1 hit, that'll restore over half of his life. So if I were Pain, I'd just buy mass Hexes, but the problem is, can they afford mass Hexes? Even Phantom Lancer won't be able to get it right off the bat. As Keep of the Light able to recall Tiny back in, this is why Keep of the Light is such a powerful support. Not only can he anti-push like no other support, he can just act as a pseudo-spectre. Carry can be farming one place and then Keep of the Light recalls him back into the team fight. So it's like having a mini Haunt on your team. Not as good as Haunt, but definitely lower cooldown. Magic Style is going to be shipped on its way to AUI. Keep in mind the illusions do crit. Won't get the plus damage, but do get the 339 base damage of the Tiny and are ridiculously tanky with the HP. So Pain forced the turtle a bit. Diffusal Blade was finished by the Phantom Lancer. That's going to give him damage, but it won't give him damage too quickly as Reigns is turned off, as looks like the Dire are going to smoke up. Nice move to turn off the Reigns, but can they clean up a kill on anybody? Rain are going to spot the movement by Sentry Ward. Actually, I don't think that Sentry Ward saw them, as that Sentry Ward doesn't give too much vision at all, especially in the nighttime. But it looks like Pain just going to go back to farming, realizing that Dignitas probably suspected a smoke gank, and were not putting themselves in compromising situations, as Daedalus is finished up on snaking. He's made such a good recovery with the help of AUI. And here comes engagement onto King RD. If they lose King RD, they lose a huge amount of damage, so and King RD is going to take the fall. No Blade Mail, no initiation for Pain, and no incredible damage soak to tank Tiny's attacks for a bit. This is going to mean probably a middle barracks just on the death of Axe. Axe played so well in the mid lane, but ever since then he has not been able to make too much happen.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, in top lane, Snaking doing a nice job of split pushing. Again, Bounty Hunters just... Really, this is just the downfall of Bounty Hunter as a hero. If he can't get a strong pushing lineup going, he's just gonna do nothing in the late game team fights. But AUI gonna take a lot of damage, but he does have so much HP. Strength of Tiny, he doesn't need to build any HP items, he just needs the raw HP boost, as looks like Fuga has all his mana drained by Mana Leak. He's gonna take one hit, two hit, toss, one more crit by AUI is gonna clean up the kill, does get that crit, able to clean up the Bounty Hunter with that long range smack of the tree, just saying, bitch, get the fuck out of here. As part of my language, but that was pretty much the only thing I could think of when I saw that. And Pain are just gonna fall apart right now. Phantom Witcher, I don't even know if he has buyback. He should have just barely enough buyback. King already able to revive. Can he get a Kong Blade kill on somebody? Fogg gonna try to desperately escape. He is gonna get revealed. He is gonna get chopped up. No, not gonna use the mana. Kong Blade is on cooldown anyway, but meanwhile the top barracks are gonna die. Phantom Lancer is gonna just get bursted down, getting a chain assailed. He's gonna die as well. Does he have buyback? He's forced to buy back. But how much can PL do as Dignitas able to clean up 2 barracks, and GG is imminent for Pain, as Dignitas able to keep up the map control, allow AUI to just farm up, and allowed Snaking to pretty much get back in this game. As I think Pain might have waited a little bit too long. Scythe of Vice is finished up on the Windrunner, has the Hex, has his Sable. So wow, Dignitas playing so well in the mid game. Started off to a pretty sloppy early game. Actually, I don't even know if it was necessarily sloppy. Maybe they took one too many team fights in the mid lane, but Axe does beat TA in the mid lane by himself. But AUI carrying his team to victory on his back. Pretty much single-handedly, but keep in mind, as Rod of Atos is picked up unfogged. The game ain't over until somebody picks up a Rod of Atos, as that is the ultimate V-win item. You only get Rod of Atos when you're so far ahead and you're so confident, as it's pretty... I mean, it's okay now that it's 60% slow, as Toss sends Bounty Hunter right back. Downlights are trying to do whatever he can. Unfortunately, unable to get the Mantis Split Illusions. Looks like China gonna take a lot of damage. Axe able to be in the midst of everything with the Blade Mail, but the armor gonna reduce a lot of Tiny's damage. Sort of a double-edged sword right by itself. Meanwhile, King RD gonna die in his 1297 crit by the Tiny. And Pain just starting to crumble. And keep in mind, Dignitas, or AUI has not even turned... Oh, he did turn on Satanic. But he's gonna have it up very, very soon. Meanwhile, Snaking just saying, okay, my team can handle you guys, or my former team. Or the team that I'm playing for currently in this game. They got you. Universe gonna get the shackle off onto Fuga. Are Dignitas gonna initiate? No, they're just gonna walk in, brute forcing their way to victory. Creeps are already in the base. Can Snaking take the fall? No, he's gonna survive for now. Meanwhile, Mana Leak gonna be used, but Dignitas just gonna overwhelm Pain at this point. AOI just gonna clean up the Phantom Lancer, 1 hit, 2 hits, saying who's the best carry in the game? Tiny is. Bevon, you had it all wrong. As here comes the Tiny train with the help of Snaking, able to clean up the kills, so GG well played, called by Pain, and good recovery by Dignitas. As Pain played a solid early game, again showing other teams that they cannot be underestimated, but unfortunately the superior team play of Dignitas in the mid game and the ineffectiveness of Bounty Hunter as a hero just sort of proved to be too much for Pain to handle. I mean, if you just look at the game, The only source of damage for the mid game, besides Phantom Lancer, is I guess Axe Culling Blade. They had no damage other than Phantom Lancer in the mid game, and he went for the Radiance build, which I feel like is a good farming build, but unfortunately, Tiny just farms faster. So a build adjustment, I don't know, but I think it might just come down to the picks because again, keep in mind AUI has so much damage to back him up. He has TA, he has NA with the mana drain, he has Illuminate flying in. Meanwhile, what does Phantom Lancer have to back him up in terms of damage? Axe Culling Blade? That's pretty much it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this commentary as I will be continuing my casting spree. So thank you for watching. Spread the word about my one cast a day or one video a day for January. And support the Defense 3. And support Dota commentaries. But thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next time.